Drum rolls. I don't. Good afternoon, Abuja, and yes, happy new week to you, to everyone. Welcome to Hard Fact on 95.1 Nigeria Info FM. The Comedy Radio's finest gave Spectre the name that Somi called. She gave me that one.
No, I didn't.
Who
it was,
did?
I think, Pastor TJ. As a matter of fact, on Friday, was it? He asked after you, and he asked specifically for spell it out.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, shout out to him as well. Well, we're here. This is where the wind bloweth thouest us. I know as an obedient soldier, you know, you move in the direction of the command. All you just have to do is pack your bag and appear where you're asked to appear. It's as simple as that. But excited to be back. I mean, I have missed it on Hard Facts. I've missed, being around you.
Oh.
No, don't push it. Don't allow me too long.
Anyway.
How have you been?
Good. Good.
Well, you're still wearing your nose mask.
Yes.
The last time you were wearing one.
So at this point, I don't know. I'm tired.
You are denying.
I just want this weather to be done with.
But there's no weather in the studio.
Yeah, but
there's no dust in the studio.
No, it's not about that. It's not about that.
Okay.
It's just any particles in the air at all, and I react.
Oh, okay.
It's allergies at this point.
Oh, I see. I thought you're trying to deny, because we are streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook at Nigeria Info Abuja. I thought you were denying our online streamers the luxury of seeing the beauty that.
Just as the trail is finishing, just let it finish. Just let the car stall.
No, but they would agree with me.
No, but that's makes no sense. Obviously, even having this on is a bit of uncomfortable. But because I must protect myself and my colleagues, and so I have to do this. And so how you know that I'm better off than I was when I just came back from leave is that my voice is back.
Yeah, and you're not coughing. Are you still coughing?
Please, just don't jinx it. Let's start the show.
All right, then. Let's get started.
Okay. Abuja, you know that we're here doing this together. We hope that you'll be with us as well from now all the way up until 7 p.m. We have a lineup of conversations and programming for you, starting with the Big Three, which kicks off any minute now. That will take us till about 4:30 when we do the sound bites, as you are aware. And then by 5 o'clock, we'll get into our conversation. We're going to be having a guest join us at that hour. And we're going to be talking about something that's very important, a conversation that started last week, but not a lot of attention has been paid to it, concerning the president's executive order and how it affects the PIA, given that it breaches, to some extent, the provisions in the PIA. So we're looking at the implications of that kind of order and America is seeing something similar play out where you have orders that, go against the Supreme Court and what have you. So we're going to be looking at the implications of these executive orders, especially as it has to do with the PIA. But for now, let's get into the Big Three. Gabriel, you want to take the first story?
Okay. I was thinking that you do the honors. I do not have it here.
Let's get to it then. All right. We come from a weekend of drama, if you will, especially upon the announcement of the elections that happened here in the FCT. And so, we were done with that, but we still have quite the battle in front of us as far as the Electoral Act and the provisions that it contains. Leader of the Senate, Senator Opemi Bamidele, I believe, was doing a lot of explaining. Everything from why the president signed the Electoral Act as quickly as he did. And then in the course of that, we had some other things come to light as well. Apparently, this new regime, according to the Electoral Act currently, has reviewed the election spending limit upward, talking about under Section 92, 1 to 8. It has raised the threshold for the presidential poll spending to 10 billion. This is up from 5 billion, which was recorded in the Electoral Act before it was amended. He provided key highlights for this new regime, of course, being the new regime under this new Electoral Act. in a statement released by his Directorate of Media and Public Affairs on Sunday. Senator Bamidele, through this communication, also said that it raised the spending threshold for governorship poll from 1 billion to 3 billion naira. You also have 100 million naira raised to 500 million naira for the Senate's spending threshold. And then for that of the House of Representatives, it's been raised from 70 million naira to 250 million naira. And for that of the State House of Assembly, you are having a 70 million naira increase, moving from 30 to 100 million. And then you are having for Area Council double the previous amount, moving from 30 to 60 million. And for councillorship, double the amount as well, 5 million to 10 million. All of this under the current provisions of the Electoral Act as amended. Under Section 125.12, Bamidele explained how this new legislation stiffened measures against vote buying, impersonation, and results manipulation, talking about the 2-year imprisonment term, the fines ranging from between 500,000 to 2 million, and all of that upon conviction. Some of the other provisions he spoke to are not new to the listening public. So we're just going to focus on the spending limits and perhaps the justifications around that. Double the amounts in some cases more than double, triple. Yeah, that's for governorship. Yeah, so these are some of the other provisions contained in the Electoral Act. And again, that thing about focusing on the one thing, tunnel vision on one, not being able to, spread and look at every other concern that they may be. But then perhaps some of you will look at this and say, well, this is not a concern. But what are your thoughts around why these amounts were increased? Like I said, in the governorship case, you're having triple the amount. And then in the case of presidential, you are having double the amount. You see more of doubling across board, except for that of the Senate and the governorship, and then the House of Representatives. 70 million to 250 million for the House of Representatives, Gabriel Spector. These are spending thresholds that they've increased.
Yeah.
I don't know. What was your first thought when you saw this? I'm curious.
I'm not surprised. I'll tell you that for a fact. I'm not surprised. And I dare say that it is the least of the electorate's problem. It's the least of our problems.
Why do you say so?
Because now they just made it official. Just made it a law, increasing the expense limit. But they've always been hitting these figures anyways. I think it is Section 89 of the Electoral Act. I may be wrong, but I think it is Section 89 of the Electoral Act. Candidates and political parties are supposed to make public their campaign expenses within 6 months of completion of the election. For 2023 election till date, Somi, till date, it is only the Obi Dati candidate that has made campaign that has made theirs public. That's the Labour Party, which even led to an internal friction between different factions in the Labour Party, because I think it was one of the factions said it was about 3.5 billion naira that was spent as a political party, while the Obi Dati campaign said they spent about 1 billion naira. The campaign limit at the time was 5 billion, by the way. Now, the point here is this. These people have always hit these figures, or even more. Don't forget, it was after the president came into power that fuel subsidy was gone. That naira to dollar went from about 700. I can't remember what it was now, but almost double the price. Due to all the different shocks that happened to the economy. So the inflation happened after the president announced subsidy is gone. That's when the inflation happened. So it means all of these expenses that have been hitting. I genuinely believe that for presidential election, they've always done, if not close to 10 billion, if not more than, at least close to.
So this is basically amending the books to suit the expenditure anyway.
You just made it official.
But when you say that it should be the least of the electorate's problem, I mean,
No, I said that in the context. Sorry to interject. I said that in the context, meaning that what really can be done to counteract this, what really can be done, we have bigger fish to fry. There are different other clauses in the Electoral Act that that are more concerning to Nigerians. But this one too poses serious threats, because now this is leading to a clear case of plutocracy. It's leading to plutocracy, governments by the wealthy. I was checking, just preparing for the show, I was checking how much statutorily can a president make, a president in Nigeria, how much can a president make statutorily in a year? Somi is about 18 million naira annually. It's about 18 million. It's not even up to 20 million naira. That is the statutory amount the president can make in terms of salary, allowance, and all of that, apart from security and all of those that are rendered to the president for free. Other monies paid to the president, all of it together is not up to 20 million. I stand to be corrected, but I don't know. Let's even inflate the figure. Let's not be more. Let's make it 30 million naira. 30 million naira annually for a 4-year tenure is 120 million. 120 million. So it means that for somebody who is contesting for presidential election in a 4-year term, let's even make it 50 million annually. That's the amount a president can, by the law, make, as this is what comes to me being the president of the country. 50 million naira annually. For 4 years, that's 200 million naira. 200 million naira is still a tiny fraction of 10 billion naira that is now being set as a limit. Meaning that is either the president or the presidential candidates, in this case, whoever, has some massive deep pocket somewhere, a massive wealth somewhere that wants to use to fund his campaign and what have you, to get into power, only because the math is not mathing up. It's not adding up. So this means that it further drives the concern that expense limit as high as this, how do these people recoup the money? I know one of the gaps that are being exploited, not just by whoever is in governments, all the politicians do it, is that they spend by proxy. They rarely ever admit they bought the interest form. They rarely ever admit they bought by themselves. It's usually one group that comes together and says, take 100 million naira to buy interest form. So they always spend by proxy. There's also, the law is also not very clear on what it is, the candidate's campaign expenses and the political party's expenses. Is it the same? Are they different? Because the law is not clear on these things too. So these are some of the gaps that, the candidate, but ultimately, we are looking at a very expensive cycle. Those that know the job, that can deliver, but do not have the financial might to pull this through. But now, literally, they are shut out of the race. And you know what this does to me? This is the most terrible part of all of this. It puts power in some people. Some people, this is their business. Every election cycle, they run as financiers. And it's not a charity organization they run. They run as financiers of election, of candidates. They look at you, they're like power brokers. They look at you, they look at the prospect. If they have a particular interest in you, they help you to broker deals here and there, lobby and all of that thing. But they do it solely for the sake of profits. And the profit margins, the interest rate we are talking about, sometimes as high as 100% interest rate. I'm not even joking. I'm not kidding with you.
Anyway, so first thought that came to mind when I saw the headline basically was, why did they feel the need to increase? Like I said, in some cases, 300%. In some cases, at the very least, you're looking at times 2 of each of these amounts. So it struck me because the truth is that whether you like it or not, you might say or consider that, it's not something that should be up for public debate, but to be able to probe the reasons around some of these things, for me, I think it will be a step to awakening civic engagement, because you're seeing these amounts being increased. And just like you've said, rightly, it's possible that they've been meeting these things before. They've been meeting these amounts before, but they felt the need to document it this time around. You can imagine that if they've met it when it wasn't documented, how much now that is documented? They'll probably exceed what it says on paper that this threshold financial limits for financial spending limits are. So for me, the conversation behind that and the probing that I will do is the fact that they felt the need to document this also shows you the direction in which they're going. This is not a direction of policy that will, impact the people at the barest minimum. No, what you're having here is more likely going to reflect in a political class, the candidates and all of that, who are so intent on winning at all costs that they're willing to put such amounts of money down. Now, remember that all of this conversation around billions that are being spoken about is coming up at a time when you're having unfunded budgets across the ministries. You are having 1% monies released. You are having less than 10% monies released. But when it comes to this election spending, there's not going to be any shortfall. It also begs the question, how are they going to get these monies? Because if you cannot even make a case to the National Assembly as to why, you have to be, well, I mean, the National Assembly is on board with it anyway, but as to why you're having a budget deficit of such a high percentage, but you're willing to pour all of these monies into the election, this is where I think you're supposed to have a National Assembly a legislative who will question and probe and say, okay, this is ridiculous, but it's the National Assembly that put their pen to paper and approved this anyway. But it's also the concern around inflationary pressure, because I've had a few economists who will explain basically how some government policies in terms of pumping money into the society also adds to inflation. So you're going to have all of these House of Rep members, State House of Assembly, the Senate, all the way, governorship, all the way to presidency, who are definitely going to be pouring all of these monies that we can't even say how they were able to legitimately fund these monies, but they're going to be getting these monies and they're going to be pumping them into the society, but through stomach infrastructure, as opposed to clear-cut, traceable policies that you can look at and say, okay, even if they were using this to say, okay, let's sway the people's vote, it's going to leave a lasting impact. Most of these monies are more likely than not, especially at the grassroots level. Like I said before, there is vote buying at various levels in our society. A lot of the time, the one we see is the one that happens at the grassroots level. But, the big conversations that are being had behind closed doors, deals that are being closed, and monies that are exchanging hands. But at the grassroots level, where you have the mass...
Nothing is happening.
Where you have the mass, no, what you are having is bags of rice and sachets of salt. That's where most of these monies are going to go into. Nothing lasting that you can even say, okay, even if I were going to recoup my money, I can recoup from this, and at the end of the day, still be able to get that same thing to generate money for the public. So those are the concerns that I have, and those are the questions that I had in my mind when I saw that money. That inflationary pressure is a real thing.
It is. But Senator Bamidele also mentioned as one of the major factors to why they increased the limit as the fact that, the cost of things have changed. Inflation has hit the economy.
So what are they going to be doing in terms of campaigning that will require triple the amount?
No, of course. See, the case of...
Based on the explanation
the case of... Yes, that's what... You are asking the right questions to me, and I think we're on the same page on this issue. The issue with National Assembly, especially in the last couple of years, I don't exactly want to even, look like I'm even coming against or coming for the leadership of Senator Godswill Akpabio. But the case of National Assembly is a case of you are using a cat to monitor or to observe, to keep a piece of meat. That's what is happening here. there is no way the lawmakers, especially in this Senate, have shown us consistently that they are not interested, at least so far, by the things that we have seen, in what is pro-citizen. Most of the things that we have seen so far, things that would favor, in quotes, them. Maybe if these seats, legislative seats, were appointive, maybe that would not be the case. But I mean, who would appoint them anyway? So the problem here is this, that what we are seeing currently is a case where these individuals are setting up structures that help them get back into power. It's as simple as that. You are asking all of the right questions, and I think those things are secondary. When you're talking about where the money is going to come from, you're going to have donors. Some people will come up and tell you that from XYZ association, we love this candidate so much. If it's a candidate who is sitting in office currently, who is an incumbent, they'll tell you that he has done this, he has done that. We came together and we brought together $1 billion. Oh, are you going to say that? That's what you're going to get in the news. Whether the money was transferred to them for them to come out into the news and say, we are donating this money. But the point is that as far as the news is concerned, the media is concerned, they have come out to say we are donors. In the reality, is there anybody, right? So are you telling me that some people just love this person and coughed out $1 billion? I remember when a certain candidate in the last some elections ago bought an interest form in the political party. I think it was Rice Farmers Association. In that news, according to the news, those who remember that news item, they will remember. It was Rice Farmers Association that said they came together and bought interest form for a particular candidate worth 100 million naira. Rice Farmer Association. And you wonder how many bags of rice were sold that you people were able to come up with the. I do not know how lucrative.
They are playing with the category of rice farmers that must have put their monies down.
You said
Yes, now.
No.
You ask how many bags of rice.
That is why I'm asking. I'm asking not because I'm criticizing. I really want to know how lucrative.
That's what I'm answering you now.
Oh, so are you saying that the rice farming industry is very lucrative?
I think it is.
You can
at least from the few that I've seen.
Oh, so as an association can cough out 100 million naira as a then.
You have to think about it in terms of you have to think about it in terms of the entire value chain. Rice farmers are not just the people who are farming the rice. When you think across the value chain, you know that it's quite a lucrative.
I understand, but at that time, Somi, 100 million naira is right now like it will be roughly about 700 to $1 billion naira right now.
So you asked question, I was trying to explain.
And we are saying the same thing.
I leave you to your doubt.
We are saying the same thing. So I'm just saying that it was an association that came together and said we are buying this interest form for a particular candidate, and that is how they say they get their money. Donations from here and there. Who in Nigeria, they say nothing is free, even in Freetown. I didn't know that people are very, when it comes to celebrities who maybe they bashed their car, they usually donate money for celebrities to buy a new car. And politicians who are recontesting election, it could be actually possible or true that there are people who actually come out to willfully, cheerfully donate to the cause of a candidate who they believe that when he gets into power, he would set policies that will favor them. So these are some of the things that really happen underneath. But as far as whether they get the money, they will get even more than that.
Well, I mean, I guess this is where it rests on INEC now. God, INEC. A lot of responsibility on the shoulders of INEC. But the truth is that if we must get things right in this country, then we must ensure that we have a body that is really and truly committed to working and delivering on some of these things that they are supposed to do. So INEC is supposed to actually track these funds. There's a campaign finance monitoring unit dedicated who are supposed to track real-time spending. And I think the current INEC chairman also spoke to that as well. They're supposed to deploy monitors to track visible expenses like billboards, TV ads, chartered flights, and then, all the other funding avenues that come in. But INEC in itself, I guess, is faced with certain challenges. For example, even if they're able to trace it, do they have the power to arrest.
You mean INEC?
Yes, in the event that some of these thresholds are exceeded, do they have the power to arrest? That's another conversation. Even if they were to work through the interagency consultative committee on election security, because that exists as well. How independent are these people to be able to actually follow through on some of these thresholds that are being set in the Electoral Act? Because whether you like it or not, it is law, and so nobody should be above the law. But will an INEC or an ESCC or an ICPC track and monitor and penalize a presidential candidate, for example, if they exceeded this threshold? That's also a bigger conversation. And then there's also whether they have the technology to follow through with some of all of these things. Those are some of the biggest issues, I think, concerning these amounts. So even though it is officially law now, and these amounts have been increased, there is a whole machinery behind it that if we were to properly track and ensure that the adverse effects of some of these ridiculous spending amounts are prevented. I think that's where the conversation is. But we'll get your thoughts on it. That's our first story for today. Let's see if we can look through some security updates and then touch on one final story, and then we'll open up the phone lines. We're looking at the situation in Kebbi, where bandits who are operating have demanded 100 million naira from a community, Utono community in Ngaski local government area, and they sent a demand for this amount, threatening that if the community members don't meet their demand to give them 100 million naira, they're going to launch an attack. And this demand was reportedly conveyed through a letter addressed to the community leaders. Now, this threat is coming amidst growing security concerns in part of Kebbi and neighboring states, where armed groups have carried out deadly raids, kidnapping, and extortion in rural communities. I think just over the weekend, there was a report of about 35 people who were killed or kidnapped, I can't say exactly, but also within Kebbi State. So you can see that the MOU, or rather the MO, the modus operandi of these bandits and these terrorists is continuing unchecked, unhindered, unprevented. Is that the word? Without any form of challenge at all. Remember the similar situation that led to the kidnapping of 100, that led to the kidnapping of over 170 people in what state was that again? About a week ago, 2 weeks ago. 170 people.
That kidnapping in Kaduna.
Was it Kaduna? Okay.
In Kaduna State.
170 people. It was the same MO. They sent a letter. Reports have it that the fact that the letter was reported to the authority and the traditional ruler angered the terrorists even more, because they were operating in other communities, and then by the time they came back to that community, the manner in which they operated was with such anger and such a vengeance. I also remember that with that particular story, there was a counter report by the federal government stating that not as many as 170 people were kidnapped. And then a counter report by the terrorists, who put out a video showing the number of people. So you're having this brazenness continue. Now we're looking at Kebbi State, where they wrote, and I quote specifically, "This is not a joke. You must pay us 100 million. If you refuse, you will face the consequences and have no one to blame but yourself. Even if you call soldiers," the letter said, "they cannot stop us." The group also referenced a previous attack on the Woro community. That's a Kwara State. That's the state I was looking for. They referenced that particular incident, threatening them that, you see what happened, because a similar warning was ignored. Residents confirmed receipt of this letter, which they said has thrown the community into a panic. You're having members of the community confirm receipt of that letter, and how people in the community are living in fear because of the threat to attack them. Now, this is happening even as this matter has been reported to the local government chairman. And they say they are not leaving anything to chance, as they know that the terrorists may come as promised. So people are leaving the community. The ones that can are leaving the community. And the ones who can't are there living in apprehension, calling for the government to provide the necessary security for them in that community. So again, the worry about how emboldened these people are, and then the response of the federal government. Speaking about response, you have the Chief Press Secretary to Kebbi State Governor Ahmed Idris confirming receipt of the letter, talking about how he spoke with the Director of Security and that they've deployed security personnel to the area. Now, we are hoping that it doesn't end up being one of those deployments where they're there for a couple of weeks and afterwards they leave. There is a real threat against this community now. Maybe the president should be deploying, what was that, the battalion that was deployed to Kaima post the attack. Maybe we should now start having what they call it now, proactive security measures put in place, because the effrontery of this terrorist to reference Kaima and tell these people that even if the soldiers were informed, they will not be stopped, I think begs for serious conversation. We've been talking about our country's security architecture for the longest time.
Yeah.
There's a possibility, because I can imagine that even if they were deploying to all of these communities that come under any kind of threat, our security forces are going to be stretched thin. So there's also the conversation around what on earth is happening, and why can't we forestall even these people sending a letter at all? And for me, the answer would be there is not, you're not having the kinds of decimation of these terrorists at the level where other terrorists will be worried. Instead, they're reviewing what is happening around them and saying, we've got this. We can deal with the Nigerian state security force. And that in itself is concerning.
Yeah. This last comment of yours, Somi, your last comment is typically what the situation is here. No matter how intense the kinetic response is, even you call it proactive, it's still reactive. Because whatever it is the government does, in quotes, to forestall or to ensure that the threat of the bandits does not happen. We don't know what faction of bandits this is right now anyway. Whatever it is the government decides to do, kinetic force or what have you, is still a reaction to the threat already sent. So we're looking at a fundamental problem, which is what I like what you just said before you stopped talking. I can tell you for a fact, Somi, take it from me, all of the governors, all of the terrorism financiers, I can tell you for a fact right now that this issue has gone beyond them. Even they right now are shocked at the level, the way things have, it has escalated way beyond their control.
I find that hard to believe.
These guys are now moving with a mind of before. They were used as tools. I mean, I'm sure you do know that for the longest, they were even the security operatives in certain communities. These bandits were the security operatives against other bandits in certain communities, because they man territories. They have their own boundaries. They have their own control areas. You of an opposing banditry group, you cannot come into this band. Do you understand? So they were allies of governments. Maybe I shouldn't use governments, of certain government officials in government. I dare say even governors. So, but right now, the way the thing has escalated, it has even gone beyond their control. And now
that's the control of the people who recruited them in the first place.
Now we have certain state governors who have inherited decade-long issue of insecurity that started aboriginally by, what they consider to be political maneuver for whatever reason. And now governors are inheriting these things. I dare say that if we're going to see swift resolution of some of this insanity going on, because tell me how the effrontery, the audacity for a banditry group to write a letter, and it's not the first time it is happening. It's not the first time. The community that is mentioned is an agrarian community. 100 million naira is like death sentence. You are telling them, we are coming to come and kill you anyway. How do you want them to get that money?
It's not the full state, it's just a community in a state. Haba. So now these guys have the audacity, the effrontery to write such a message. Who delivered it? How did it get here? You know, when you look at the ancient wars, for example, like there's the Roman war with different or other regions, many times a particular region can have, or maybe the war in general, you can have 100,000 foot soldiers. You do not need to kill or to decimate 100,000 soldiers to win the war. What you need to do is target the person that is the commander. Once the commander's head is got, you raise it up in the war. The foot soldiers automatically do what? They surrender. Because the person who has given them the charge to go has been taken off the battlefield. I don't know, get what I'm trying to say here. So in issues like this, if we are going to see swift response to these issues and not deploying our innocent brothers and fathers and uncles to a senseless war that makes no sense. A senseless war, and sending our soldiers just to untimely death. Who are the leaders? The leaders are in contact with certain people in government. How come these guys are not being brought down? You know, I'm currently seeing a particular series. I'm currently seeing a series El Chapo, the story of El Chapo, the popular drug lord and all of it. And you know, something played out in that particular series. A very beautiful series. If you have the time, you can watch it out, right? Something plays out in it. Many times, the government realizes that we understand that we cannot totally eradicate narcotics, drug trafficking. The government of Mexico, according to the series, the movie now, the government of Mexico realizes that we cannot totally eradicate it. It is part of us. There's nothing we can do about it. So what they do now is they pick a particular cartel to work with and say, working with this particular cartel, you help us control the other cartels. That's what they did. According to this, I'm currently seeing the series. I think I'm in season 3 or something. It's something I recommend. It just opens your eyes to how these things happen at that time, that governmental level. That you have, and I'm not even saying it is what is happening like for like, but going to the recent, we've had stories of governments, state governments, in peace conversation with these bandits.
Yeah, but I think that there's some differences there. For example, just like when you were saying,
take the illustration of the movie with a pinch of salt.
Okay.
I just brought that in to illustrate. I'm not saying it is what is happening here.
I know. Okay. You mentioned that already. But for me, I think the fear is that, because you said something earlier, and I begged to differ.
Okay.
About how even the state governors are at the point where they see it as something that is beyond them. I like the fact that you also referenced, taking off the head. In this instance, I fear that what we are seeing in Nigeria is a hydra-headed monster. So, for example, in Kebbi State, you have Lakurawa as the group that is said to be wreaking havoc in the state. They've launched a series of attacks across different communities in the state.
Yeah.
So it's a hydra-headed monster, granted, but it is still one monster with many heads. The government can take an approach, and when I say government, I mean from state government all the way up. I mean, we've heard them talking about having regional agreements. I'm talking about the northern governors now, to end insecurity in their state, whether it's vast state police, whatever the case is. But what we have is a failure of both the state governors and the federal government to be able to move decisively to cut off all the heads of this monster.
Which is exactly my point. So what happens to me? Sorry. You know what happens to me? At some point, you will see that they will say this particular head is more like a chess game, giving up a pawn. They'll tell you that a particular head has been arrested and decimated.
At a point, I feel like if these criminals are even giving way more credit for what is due to them. Whatever is happening in insecurity in the country today is purely as a result of whether lack of of political will or inefficiency in the resolve to be done with it once and for all. And so you allow it a little bit, whether by virtue of the approach that you take, or one thing or the other, whether it is in the conversations that are being had across the military cadre, or at the government tables. You allow it in one way or the other, and so it continues to thrive because there is some form of allowance. We've seen it with the conversations with the state governors who are negotiating with them. We've seen it with the federal government who is talking about they know where terrorists who have kidnapped people are, that they know where they are and that they're okay and that they will get them back. We've seen it in some form of allowance. And I think for me, until we get to that point where they're ready to cut off and when I say all the heads, I mean all. This should not be, God forbid that we have even a fictional representation of what is happening in El Chapo, in Nigeria here, where it gets to the point where they have to then work with, even if it's one cluster of these bandits. And I know you didn't mean it literally, but I'm saying, God forbid, because my concern is this whole thing of, oh, it's beyond them. Oh, they don't know what to do. They can't fight them again. Even up to the point of saying that, oh, it's beyond our government, to the point that the Americans have to step in before we see decimation of these people, I think is what continues to empower them in one way or the other. But we need to quickly move on from here so that we can open up the phone lines. Lakurawa, while all of this is happening, or while all of that was happening, the Kebbi State Police Command yesterday was said to have thwarted some of these bandits, who were also trying to gain access through the Maje border road. In a statement, the command's public relations officer said the attackers moved the herd of cattle at night, using it to conceal their approach. So there is also there are also some clear identifying markers as to how they operate. It's either in communities using large numbers of motorcycles, or they are using cattle, or in some instances they're even advancing beyond those two. But concerning this particular incident, they thwarted their attempt to gain access. According to the police counterterrorism unit, some security structures were damaged in this incident, but no lives were lost. This is not the case, though, as we had in Adamawa, the same Adamawa that the president was in barely a week ago to commission projects and all of that. Apparently, reports coming in that 3 soldiers and a civilian woman were killed in what seemed to be a reprisal attack by suspected Boko Haram terrorists on the Garaha district in Adamawa state. They launched this attack. The Boko Haram terrorists launched this attack on Saturday at 11 p.m., blocking the community from different directions, shooting sporadically before overrunning a military camp on the location. Eyewitness reports said that the military were caught off guard, and that is what resulted in the deaths of the 3 military personnel and the civilian woman. Let's go for the news. When we come back, we'll touch on the final story, even as the phone lines will be open. Stay with us. lines have been blinking from early on in the show. 0700951 0000 or 0809-597-4869. And on WhatsApp, 0809-993-0137. I'll start with the messages here. The Electoral Act amendment is a waste of time and adds no value to improvement of the election. Concern Nigerian is saying the best electoral act is to stop elected officials from decamping with elected office. You are free to decamp, but you must resign from your elected post. Secondly, it must be a crime to campaign or fund your campaign with public funds. Thirdly, the so-called restriction of movement during election should be looked into. One registered in different parts of a town and lives in different locations of a town, but could not be allowed to go out on election day. Thank you so much. We see your message, Concerned Nigerian. Those are the things that will add to whatever changes will be made come the next Electoral Amendment Act. But as it currently stands, this is where we are. Let's take that call. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, welcome.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Afternoon, how are you doing? It is William. Are you not choke? You are wearing face mask. If you are outside the rain now, you are talking this long and you are wearing face mask. You need to choke yourself now, dear friend. Huh? You need to choke yourself. Put on, as long as if you are outside and in dusty environment, you can wear the face mask. As long as you are there, nobody apart from Gabriel is sat down with you. Joy have left. So you're not coughing, you're not sneezing. When you talk so long and you're wearing face mask, I don't know how you look, how you're going to feel. That is that. I'm just feeling about it because you're my sister anyway.
I understand. Thank you so much. And I acknowledge that it is uncomfortable, but I'm not just wearing it because of the dust. But thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking about the security thing, I think it's very funny that we are experiencing this time of the period of the time. I expected by now this thing would have come to an end. But I expected that if the government should be so wise enough, they should have ways to them to do things so different. Neither to them to build a military base in this community. Go to all those bases and build a military base. They can go to Niger State in the village and build a military base where these guys close to this and mark them mark to mark. But if you want to say that they will just keep on writing letters to communities and all that, that is pretty funny. It's very much acceptable. I don't know what NSA is doing, National Security Advisor, or intelligence community are doing. That would be so funny of New Dubai will be sitting on his office and be alerting criminals to be writing letters to communities to bring 100 million. Where are you going to take the 100 million from? From those communities from where? How? When? These things have to be, if they are serious enough, if not somebody is making money out of it, I expect that people like New Dubai should sit up and think out of think really that we don't expect this to linger so long, and it can't work that way. I mean, I used to ask. I know it's not easy, but if somebody should be, if someone calls and say you are the CSC commander in chief, you should act as a commander in chief. That if you have the army, whoever that is in charge, if you don't, in the next 3 months, fire them. If you tell it to be the employed, let them sit up. Not somebody to come there and be making budget on frivolous budget by the end of the day without achieving, something. These are these things that need to be solved. If you map out how many states there are, communities that not just the Kaduna, these communities, Katsina, these communities, build a military base inside the community base, so that by the end of the day, you mark these guys man to man and get off these guys. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, let's see. Any other callers? I have a message here. Maybe after this, I'll go to the third story. Holding a free and fair election depends on the Nigerian voters, not INEC. We must lessen our talks on the media and deploy more efforts to engage the people on issues of vote trading with the mantra, don't sell your vote. But if they bring money, collect it and vote for the right candidate, Israel is saying, let's leave any agencies of the government out. They are bought. The media, CSOs, private individuals, right activists, and so on should rise up to do the job of a national orientation agency. All right, Israel, let's take this one. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Welcome, sir.
My name is Gabriel from Judiciary.
Welcome.
You see, I want to talk on this criminals writing to the community. It is very sad seeing non-state actors writing to state actors. So directly they are writing to the federal government that they are coming to attack the communities if they don't give them 100 million. They even there the soldiers. The soldiers cannot stop them. Look at this ragtag vagabond. It's stopping the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's very sad. How do we find ourselves this mess? In fact, I don't know why people who know where these people come. These people they group at the certain camp before they carry out their laborious activities. I think people know their camps. People should give information to DSS, give information to BMI to attack these people first. In fact, it is very sad. We cannot continue to allow these criminals, these murderers, to kill innocent people. Where do they expect the people of the country to see 100 million? In fact, it is high time that the federal government and the now, what they will do now is they will send soldiers into that place, and I pray they will not ambush them on their way. Maybe they will stay there for 1 week or 2 weeks. When they leave that place, this criminal will attack. So, then the and all the agencies find their camp and attack them before they attack that community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. While we wait for other calls to come in, let's take the final story very quickly so that you can speak to all the issues. We're looking at cases of reported tension in the Nigerian judiciary as the NJC has begun to probe top judges. Yes. According to news reports, the NJC commenced a discreet but far-reaching investigation into some highly placed judges in the country, including heads of courts. And this is according to insiders who spoke to Premium Times. The NJC, as we know, is the constitutional body responsible for appointing, promoting, and disciplining judicial officers in Nigeria. It's a 24-member council led by the CJN, Kudirat Kekere Ekun, who by herself admitted at some point that the what's happening in judiciary has been a bit concerning. NJC in recent times received several petitions and complaints alleging serious and shocking misconduct, forgery, age falsification, as well as false asset declarations. This is the source speaking. And they said they're deeply disturbed by the weight of these allegations. The CJN is mobilizing the NJC for urgent administrative action. And she does not want these claims to further erode public confidence in the judiciary. That was what she mentioned at the very beginning. That was indeed a thing, public confidence in the judiciary and trust being eroded. Now, the source speaking, was talking about how there is this extraordinary investigation that has been triggered. And there was someone who also spoke to the corruption, if you will, in the judiciary just a few days ago, Chidi Odinkalu, talking about how it's time to save judicial appointments from corruption. And in his case, he cited Abia State, which, according to reports, has been the site of a bewildering contest over the crisis of corruption that we now see in our judicial appointment process. Essentially, the appointment of judges in Nigeria, according to his report, has become something akin to a life and death contest, not for on behalf of those seeking to get justice, but for people who see judicial appointments as a meal ticket for life or as leverage in what he called the dark arts of Nigeria's rentier theater. I mean, if this really and truly is the state of things, even though the Abia State situation is particularly concerning because it's been existing even prior to this administration, but some will say, after all, look what's been happening since this administration. 300% increase in salaries and emoluments, houses being built left, right, and center. Some people have alluded to one of these as one of the reasons why you are seeing this. But again, like I said, Abia State precedes this administration. But as far as this particular source now is speaking, the CJN is looking to ensure that she cleans out the judiciary, because the damning and disturbing petitions that have been filed are filed against very senior judicial officers. I think the question that I will ask is, do you think that this will make any kind of difference? Can you really separate the CJN, from everything else that is going on in the Nigerian judiciary? Can you separate the NJC, because they're responsible for appointing these people in the first place, apart from the disciplining aspect, from the appointment aspect, and from all the other provisions that they've been provided for to cater to the judiciary and the justice system? Do you think that they're going to do a fair enough job in this extraordinary investigation and prosecution that is it looks like is going to happen within the courts?
Very interesting turnout of events, Somi, but it's not exactly one that we are new to. In fact, I think it just all the way shows where we are as a country. The arm of government, or should I just say the tier of government responsible for upholding the law, certain officials are found wanting in that regard. It's just an irony, and it's really sad. Judges found wanting for forgery of certificates, age falsification, and what have you. Haba. That's the exclamation that comes to mind. But it's not the first time. Quite a number also have been fingers have been pointed at quite a number of judges also, not even for certificates or what have you, but for financial misconduct, lack of proper declaration of assets as enshrined by relative or the relevant authorities or relevant laws that guide their actions or their performances and all of that. Again, it just goes to show where we are as a nation, Somi. And I really wonder what sector of this economy, of this nation, is free from corruption? Is where I'm just looking at the issue and I'm wondering what sector is can we point to and say there's sanity in this particular sector. If the judiciary, looking at probing of judiciary judges, it's a sad one to me, honestly speaking. You look at the issue and I'm just, it's one that you look at and you're just forced to just shake your head in lack of better word. You're confused. You're just looking at it like, wow. Wow is this exclamation that comes to mind.
There's been a history of the NJC, but not prosecuting in the actual sense. They do the investigations and then they recommend either the dismissal or the sack or, the judge basically losing their position. There's been a history of that. Maybe we'll look at one or two cases, but let's go back to the phone lines and take some more calls. Hello. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you, Somi, and Gabriel.
Good afternoon, sir.
This is Elder Sam.
Welcome, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Gabriel. Gabriel, you know about the situation of insecurity in this country. You remember that about a few weeks ago, I got you online. I asked one.
Hello, Elder, are you there?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
I asked one. I was asking you a question. I said, do we have two countries in Nigeria that bandits would declare? I think that I was Zamfara or we said like that bandits say that.
I think I remember that conversation.
But and that day you were like not getting me right. But I wonder today you are like saying the same thing I was saying. You see this thing that our government is playing with. Very soon we will read as a rock. Very soon. This thing started 15 days ago. You were on radio saying that when we were talking, these people they say they are coming to Niger, they are coming to Nasarawa. We talk on this in government, do something about it. They refuse.
Oh dear.
Your number got disconnected, sir. Thank you so much. You were saying that it's been mentioned before, and unfortunately the situation hasn't improved. Let's listen to this.
Good evening, NLT from Edu, saying good evening to you in the studio. Or are we still in afternoon?
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, as the case may be.
Okay.
Bandits asking for 100 million naira from the community in Kebbi State. You can imagine the effrontery. You can imagine the brazenness. Huh? In a country where there is a government, bandits are giving a community ultimatum to meet up with a ransom payment. And if you're not careful, that is how these things will now play out under our eyes, under our nose, and we are watching. This, if you're not careful, that is how it will still come to pass. And nothing will be done. In a sane climate, this kind of situation, you need infiltrators. Infiltrators from possibly the intelligence agencies that will infiltrate into the community, act as those who are going to pay the money, you understand, put their life on the line, you understand, because the government is also serious in case of anything that will happen to them, their families will be taken care of, and these criminals will be busted. And the agent, the security agent will come out either alive or dead. It's a matter of life or death, you understand. You get infiltrators to infiltrate into their ranks, and they're like member of the community, and they will be busted. But here, there is no seriousness. If you're not careful, that is how these things will play out under our nose. God forbid. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. On Facebook, Ma Olebara says, all the way from Uweri, says the National Judicial Council and other regulatory bodies should tackle the rot in our judiciary. Let there be a total overhaul of our judiciary that is alleged to be bedeviled with corruption, indiscipline, lawlessness, and emasculation of power. It needs purging because justice is on leave, she says. Equity is asleep and honor is sick. Let God arise so that justice will reign. Let God arise so that our judiciary is sanitized in the interest of the masses. We can no longer continue with the system where judgment is questionable. Enough is enough, she says. Sam Cisco, we see you on Facebook. Good afternoon to you too. Habib Wakil Bubo talking about how he says, I'm missing you guys so much, my number one radio station. I'm out of Abuja almost 4 years, watching live from Akwanga, local government, Nasarawa State, from Anjida village.
You're not so far away.
You're not.
But I don't think we'll reach guests to Akwanga, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm glad that you can follow up on Facebook, but you can also consider downloading the app, Nigeria Info, and you can follow us as well. Also, Francis Amagan Namani, we see you. Greetings to you as well. He says, keep up the good work. You want to take the Facebook messages? WhatsApp, rather.
All right, so let's take some messages here on WhatsApp. This is Kashim Issa Adaji from Maraba in Nasarawa State. Says, when late President Buhari descended his corruption light on judges, people shouted and called him all manner of names. But today we all see how corrupt our system has become. Imagine some judges' forged certificates. When you have a system that encourages corruption by building houses for judges, making our election as cash cow for judiciary, the result is what is playing out in that sector. This is sad. Commentary. Kashim says, on the northern terrorists so christened comfortably by the government as bandits, writing love letters to communities. Please, Nigerians should free the president when he said Emiloko. What are we expecting? Are we expecting angels to come and deliver us? I beg you. The president's family and cronies want to enjoy the perks of office, no more, no less. As for our military, they can continue to drag choice lands in the city centers instead of building barracks at the border areas to protect border communities from terrorists, Neme says. APC-led government is more concerned with winning next election and never worried about the security of lives and property. Where's the DSS? Where's the intelligence agencies of Nigeria? Where's APC taking Nigeria to? Judiciary is corrupt and insecurity is ravaged the country. He says, good afternoon, Somi and Gabriel. Inameka from Karimu says, to be honest, I'm mentally tired of the security issues in Nigeria because how come the citizens are being killed in large numbers on a daily basis and all our so-called leaders care about is how to play politics. I must commend you guys who, despite all these heartbreaking news headlines, are still able to show up to work every day because, to be honest, it can really affect somebody's mental health. May God continue to strengthen and guide you all. I must say that it takes its toll on us. I don't know about you, but
you know how many times when I see these headlines, I'm thinking, just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. Look for something else. But we must play our part, and we must do the reporting, because we cannot become numb to the stories. You know how you're seeing it every day and like, oh, is this newsworthy?
Yeah.
So we're tempted to do that sometimes, but we must play our part and we must report on the story. So I totally understand you when you say you're tired of hearing it. We're tired as well, but we must report on them. Unfortunately, there's no going around it for us. And when we finish, we go back home and go and ask God to help us, because that's pretty much most of what you see.
That part of God helping us, very, very crucial.
Yeah. Let's take a break. When we come back, maybe just a few more calls and responses, and then we'll wrap it up on the big three. Stay with us.